Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Lydia. I am your money mentor online. I was actually watching a movie the other day and I figured I'd hop on and give you some of my thoughts. A phrase hit me, and that phrase was, a man is not a financial plan. A man is not a financial plan. Okay, so it really just hit me, and I sat there and I had so many thoughts crossing through my mind that I figured I'd make a video. So here we go. A man is not a financial plan. Now, first of all, I want to point out a few things. There are a few caveats that I'm going to highlight. First and foremost, I'm not man bashing today. Okay, that is not my goal. I'm also not woman bashing. I really want us to look at this from a perspective of both sides. A man is not a financial plan, and neither is a woman a financial plan. We all have to be responsible for our own finances. So I'm not man bashing. I'm not woman bashing. The other thing I want to highlight is I do have a husband. Okay, he was my high school sweetheart. We've been together for all these years, and I'm not bashing any particular man. But I want to highlight some certain things today that I think are important to us as women and as individuals. So think about it. If you're a guy, don't shut this down. This is also for you. You can share it with your spouse. It's very, very important for all humans. The other thing I wanted to mention as a caveat is I know a lot of my target audience at the present time are Black, Africans, etc. So I wanted to put something in here. Okay. The point that I'm trying to make here is not for the woman to take over the finances. I'm not saying that anyone should take over the finances. What I'm saying is that we should work together as husband and wife, as partners, as spouses, whatever the case may be. It helps for the burden of the financial responsibility to not be on one person. So what I'm advocating here is actually for us to work together as opposed to for one person to carry that burden. My last caveat is that I understand that a lot of men find fulfillment in managing the finances, and that's great. However, what I want to call to your attention, and even if you're a woman managing the finances, I want you to include your spouse in the process. Why? Because together, we actually go further when we work together. It's important that everybody has an eye on this. And even if it means divvying some of the chores when it comes to the finances, this is a good thing to do. Okay, so that you're not dependent on the other person's knowledge. Rather, you have your own knowledge, and together you can actually benefit. So this is all about protecting the family unit, husband, wife, spouse, boyfriend, partner, whatever the case may be, protecting your finances because everybody has knowledge and understanding about it, rather than one person carrying that all in their head. Okay, so those are my few caveats I wanted to kind of highlight before I get started. Now, let's dig in. So the title here is A Man is Not a Financial Plan. Why not? Why can't my man be a financial plan? I mean, it sounds perfect. It even rhymes. But that's not the point I'm making. Why should somebody not be solely dependent on another person for a financial plan? Well, what if something goes wrong? And I don't want to just throw this out there. I want us to examine a few reasons as to why. Because it's helpful for all parties to be in the know. Even if you're not fully doing all the financial tasks around the household, everybody needs to know what's going on. Okay? Now, it's important for all of us to be financially responsible for our futures. So it's helpful. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people say, only one person needs to work and then that person loses their job. So these are the kind of scenarios that we're going to examine and we need to be able to dig deeper into today. Lastly, why not? Well, there's a saying that I've used multiple times here and I'm sure you've all heard it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Now, because we are going to live longer in this generation than many previous generations have, we want to go far. And so therefore, my point today is, let's figure out a way to be able to work together so that we can go far together. Collaboration is key when it comes to finances and for us to be able to make decisions that actually help us. So you as a woman or you as a man in a relationship, it's important that you are able to actually work with the next person and collaborate to ensure that your finances are in the right place. The next why not, we're asking why isn't it right for someone else to be your financial plan? Well, I'll tell you another reason. What if your financial plan decides that they don't want to be with you anymore? What if your husband, your husband or spouse or boyfriend doesn't want to be with you anymore? How many times have we seen that happen? Okay, so that can be a challenge, for example. What if they lose their job? What if they want a divorce? These are realistic things. Now, what if they fall ill? And worse, what if they pass away? And you don't even know the password to your online bank account. You have no idea. These are the things that we need to consider. Yes, it's worst case scenario, but these are scenarios that we need to understand to ensure that we don't fall into them. Where does that leave you if you're in those scenarios? What if that does happen? Where does that leave you? Are you prepared to handle those scenarios? Is this something that your mind is ready to handle? These are crucial questions that we all need to ask ourselves so that we don't fall into a position of financial insecurity. And how do situations like disability, how do situations like long-term health issues, how do situations like early retirement, like forced early retirement, how do those affect you if you are not a part of the financial process in your environment? You cannot dig a hole and live in that hole and be an ostrich. The ostrich is my worst animal, a bird. They shouldn't exist in my mind, because how do they exist if they don't know what's happening? We cannot be ostriches when it comes to our finances. The last scenario that I wanted us to look at, a couple of scenarios really, that could challenge our financial security. So the first one is, of course, you have a situation where someone doesn't want to be with another person. We've mentioned that already. Husband divorces a stay-at-home mom. If a stay-at-home mom has no qualifications, no skills, no ability to earn, there's nothing wrong with staying at home. I stayed at home for some of my kids as well. But while I stayed at home, I earned my master's. While I stayed at home, I earned a PMP. While I stayed at home, I was also a realtor, and I was able to buy and sell houses and do those kind of things and help with those transactions that earned me an income. Being a stay-at-home mom is great. However, if you have the opportunity to generate income to add to your household in that situation, please do so. Or at the bare minimum, keep your licenses active. Keep your continuing ed current, so that if you are in a situation where you have to be on the market, you are marketable. Okay? I have a dear friend whose child was ill when he was young, and she took that time out and literally has a PhD today. Because she stayed current and she stayed marketable. It is essential that we do these things. Okay, another situation could be you've grown up together with your childhood sweetheart, and God forbid he falls ill and he has to go into a nursing home. Well, the price of a nursing home in this country is literally the price of a mortgage. So what happens if you have no skills, no ability, no money management skills, and you have to stay at home while someone else is going into a nursing home? How does that work? That leaves us in a place of financial insecurity. So our role is to ensure that even if we don't use those skills, we have the skills so that we can actually ensure that financial insecurity is not our portion. In our household, for example, my mother was a single parent. She didn't start out that way. She was married to my dad. Things didn't work out, and she had to work the long hours. She was a nurse. She had to work extremely hard to be able to ensure that we were covered, that we as her children were in a place where we weren't struggling all the time financially. So even though we weren't exceedingly rich, she helped us by providing a lifestyle because she had a qualification. She had a nursing skill. She was a midwife and she was an RN. Those two things literally put food on our table and helped us through school, through life, etc. So having those skills is a good thing. They cannot go to waste. If they do, it's only because you don't want to use them. But if you choose to use them, they will generate income for you. The game I'd like to play today is pretend. Okay, let's say you're in a great place and, for example, your man is your financial plan. Okay. The game I want to play is, what if he's not? What if your woman is not a financial plan for some reason? Well, that financial plan collapses. What would you do? Well, here are some of the things I'd recommend that you do in this game of pretend. Number one, understand where you are today. What is your financial situation today? Okay? Understand what your income is, what your expenses are, how those are affected, whether they change or fluctuate, whether they're the same or constant. Question is, do you know those things? So that's the first thing we need to do. We need to understand where we are today financially. Secondly, you need to know your numbers. So for example, what are your bills? How much is your electricity? How much is your gas? How much is your water? How much do you pay for food? What are your food costs? Do you get food from elsewhere? Do you know your numbers? Know the numbers, okay, guys, girls? It's important because if anything happens, you need to be able to understand what your financial outlook is. I'll give you an example. I used to live in the States, and I remember a lady. I used to work at a school as a director of administration. And I remember this lady walked into the room and she burst into tears. And I asked her, I said, what's the matter? She said, well, my husband just lost his job. I was like, darn, I'm so sorry to hear that. You know, what can we do to help? So we negotiated fees and tried to help her a little bit. And then she came back and she said, this is what I'm used to, okay? Just to give you context. I was like, yeah, spit it out. And she said, whenever the bills dropped through the door or came through the letterbox, I would take those bills to my husband, drop them on his desk and say, you do you, boo. And she'd walk away. So she didn't know how the bills were paid. She didn't know what it entailed. She didn't even know what the numbers were. She would take that envelope, drop it on her husband's desk, and she had no idea how they were paid. So when he lost his job, when she sat there and cried in that office, it wasn't because she even understood the depth of what they were going through. It was just because she knew that that lone income in that household had gone. So having a lone income, ladies and gentlemen, is dangerous. And that's the situation that she was in. So that was just one example, my you do you boo friend. I will not mention her name, but she got on her feet and she rose again. The other example that I had was I asked a good friend of mine, I was like, what are your bills like? And this was actually when we just moved to the UK and I was trying to understand the financial expenses that were about to hit us. You move into a new property, you don't know what the bills are going to be, but it helps to ask, what's the average? So I asked a few friends, I was like, what's your water bill like? What's your gas bill like? So I could know what to expect. And my one friend said, I don't know. My husband tends to deal with that. And I said to her, why don't you know? Now, she works, she has a good job, she's very knowledgeable, very educated, but she left that task to someone else who was a husband. And I said to her, make sure you understand what those expenses are. There's nothing wrong with you knowing those numbers because it helps you. It helps you to know what your overall budget likes. It helps you to know what your big picture is. So there's no harm in knowing the numbers of your household. Okay? So if you were to ask me today exactly what I pay for each bill, I can tell you that. And I don't actually handle that side of things. But I do it because I just feel it's helpful for us to understand. It gives us a big picture of where we're sitting. Okay? So that was a game we're playing. That was our game of pretend. If you find that you are not financially secure, my advice at this point would be to try to begin to create a financial safety net. Okay? The goal here is that each person adds value to the household. Each person is able to add some financial stamina to your financial safety net. Okay? So how do we usually create a financial safety net? First and foremost, we build up some cash reserves. If we don't have cash reserves, that is the first thing we want to target. If it means getting an extra job, doing a few extra hours, putting some money aside in a savings account, that is step one about building a financial secure safety net. Step two, if you have no qualifications, this is a great time to actually go get some qualifications. Now, degrees are expensive. Our students tend to do it because they're in their 20s and they have the rest of their life to pay off that student loan. But if you're in a situation where you don't want to go back and do a 3-year degree, you don't want to take on that debt, that's fine. There are professional exams you can take. There are other courses you can take that could catapult you into a career of sorts. So for example, you could do nursing or a CNA. That's a very short course where you could actually go learn how to do caring and get a job. It's a very short course. Those are examples of things that we can do to actually begin to generate income. If you don't want to leave your home, you could do data entry. Just speed up that typing skill. Online data entry exists everywhere. A skill, for example, that you could do and generate income right from your home. Okay, so these are examples that you could do. Do a short training course that might be able to help you to create or generate income. If you have business ideas, maybe you don't need to do that training course. You might just be able to implement those business ideas and grow some income for yourself. The other thing I want to mention is that, all you need to do is have a plan and implement that plan. Remember, most rich people don't even have degrees. Bill Gates didn't have it. He never finished university. Neither did so many others. So I'm not saying force yourself to go to school if school is not for you. Figure out a way to generate an income, even if it's through a side hustle that you can use to add to that value of the household and become your own financial plan. Build up a financial support system. Even if it's not just financial, make sure you have a support system. Even if it could be a club, it could be a church group. It's a support system that could help you should things become challenging. So build up a financial support system. Create a circle of friends that if you don't have one, create a support system that will help you become educated, help you understand your finances, help you grow those finances if you can. You need to understand your financial security level. Understand your financial security level. Now, this might mean absolutely nothing to you, but I'm going to tell you a story to give you some context. A few weeks ago, as we were going through our budget, my husband and I, we talked about our life insurance. And we wanted to make sure that our life insurance was apt to ensure that should one of us pass away, we are able to sustain our household. Now, you need to go back and check your life insurance because your life insurance needs to be at least 10 times your annual salary. At least 10 times your annual salary is what it should be as a bare minimum. So we had to go through that. We had to make sure that we're in a place where we're financially secure should anything happen. And then we went into another discussion, a deeper discussion, saying, okay, should one of us pass, how would we manage our household? And my husband is a very analytical man, and he went through exactly what he would do. And I was so shocked I got angry. I'm like, how have you planned so well? And that was me being a little silly, but not thinking logically because I hadn't put that process into thought. So I had to then sit back and say, okay, stop pointing the finger at him. What have you done? How have you planned? Should anything happen? How would you handle things? These are questions that we need to have. And this is not about saying, okay, I don't have a financial plan. We both need to have a financial plan should one of us pass. Now, the funny thing was, I actually went, to see a friend of mine that day. I think I was off. And we chatted. And I asked her, I was like, do you and your husband talk in detail about what would happen if one of you passed? And she was like, yeah. And I said, well, I really got a little bit angry about this when I spoke to my husband. And she was like, why? She says, you're being silly. You need to figure out what's going wrong in your mind that would make you react that way. And it really made me think and made me understand that the bottom line is none of us are going to live here forever. One of us will go. Every single marriage ends either in death or divorce. So our place is to make sure that we cater for those situations. The other thing that you want to talk about when assessing your financial security level is understanding exactly what you have. So for example, if one of you earns fairly high an income, you must make sure that you have disability insurance for that person, because should anything happen, they need to ensure that, or you need to ensure that your income continues while that person has time to get better. So disability insurance, life insurance, super important things that we should all make sure that we address. And as I said, life insurance needs to be a minimum of 10 times your annual salary. And last but not least, I was talking to a friend of mine at work, and the question came to my mind, what happens when your financial plan retires, right? Her husband ended up taking early retirement, which left her having to run the household. It wasn't easy for her because it added to her insurance costs because he wasn't working at the time. And it also challenged her because she had never been in the place where she was a sole breadwinner. So what happens when your financial plan retires? What happens when your husband, spouse, friend retires? You need to be in a place where you know what you're going to do should that retirement kick in, and should that retirement reduce your income. So I'll be honest with you guys, this topic is way too big to cover in one video. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to do a part 2 on this. Your Man is Not a Financial Plan video, and we're going to dig deeper into how to make sure that we fully understand our financial situation and we're able to change a situation where we are not dependent on anyone else for our financial security. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up. Next week, I'll post a part 2 to this, and we'll dig deeper into why your man should not be your financial plan. I'll see you on the next one. I only ask 3 things of you. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with anyone who you feel needs to know that their man is not a financial plan. I'll see you on the next one.